last thing I heard before they took my wife wasn't a scream. It was her coffee cup hitting the floor, not breaking, not shattering, just stopping, like the world itself went silent to mark the moment. 1 second she was standing at the counter, white robe, hair still damp from the shower. The next second, the back door exploded off its hinges. 4 men moved through my house like smoke, guns up, faces empty, professional. Before I could even stand, one of them had a barrel pressed against my forehead, cold metal, real. And then I heard her voice, Marco. Just that, one word, calm, too calm, not scared, not panicked, like she had been expecting this, like she had already decided how it would end. And in that moment, with a gun to my head and my heart trying to escape my chest, I felt it. Something was wrong. Not with them, with her. I just didn't know yet how wrong I had been about everything.
My wife's name is Sophia, and I thought I knew everything about her. I was wrong. I was so completely, dangerously, embarrassingly wrong. She was an art history professor at Westbrook University. Quiet life, simple routine, the kind of woman who remembered every single birthday in our circle, never missed a card, cried at nature documentaries, never at sad movies, made Sunday gravy that people still talk about, drove a silver Volvo, donated to the library fund. There was nothing about her that said, danger. Nothing about her that said, this woman is not who you think she is. But looking back now, there were signs. I just didn't know how to read them. Not yet. We met at a gallery opening. I was bored. My business partner dragged me there. And then Sophia started speaking about a painting, 500 years old. A man with a knife, a betrayal frozen in oil and canvas. And she made it sound like it was still happening, right now, right here. Like the violence and the power and the consequence in that painting were just one door away from the present. I fell in love with her that night. I should have paid more attention to which paintings she chose. The ones with knives in them, the ones about power, the ones where someone thought they were safe and wasn't. But I was in love. And love makes you the blindest version of yourself. The first sign came 3 months into dating. We were at a restaurant in Little Italy. Her suggestion, when a man at the bar saw her. He was older, gray at the temples, expensive suit, the kind of man who fills a room without trying. And when he saw Sophia, everything changed. He didn't smile, he didn't wave. He stood up, slowly, like you do when someone important walks in. Then he nodded, one small, deliberate nod. She returned it, one dip of her chin. That was it. 10 seconds, maybe less. But something about it sat wrong with me. I asked her who he was. An old family friend, she said. Picked up her menu. And I believed her. That was my first mistake. The second sign came on a Tuesday night, about a year into our marriage. I came home late to find her at the kitchen table, laptop open, speaking quietly in Italian. She saw me, finished her sentence, unhurried, not flustered, closed the laptop, stood up to kiss me hello. Work call? I asked. Family, she said, my uncle in Rome. She handed me a glass of wine, asked about my day, and just like that, the question dissolved. I should have pushed harder. I didn't. The third sign was the one I should have taken most seriously. 8 months before they took her, driving back from a weekend upstate, a dark sedan pulled alongside us on the highway, tinted windows, out-of-state plates. It stayed parallel. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Sophia's eyes went to the mirror. Her hands shifted on the wheel, just slightly. That car is following us," I said, half joking. She changed lanes. The sedan changed lanes. She accelerated. The sedan accelerated. "Sophia?" I see it. Her voice had gone somewhere else entirely. Not scared, focused, the way a surgeon gets focused. She dialed a number I didn't recognize, spoke 3 words in Italian, hung up. 2 exits later, the sedan was gone.
She told me it was probably just an aggressive driver. She said it so calmly, so reasonably. I almost believed her. But that night, lying in the dark while she slept beside me, I thought about all 3 moments. The man at the bar, the late-night call, the sedan. I told myself there was a rational explanation. I told myself that because the alternative wasn't something I was ready to face. But here's the thing about the truth. Ready or not, it comes. Here is what the police report will never tell you. The 4 men who came into my house that night were not random. They were not desperate. They were not acting on impulse. They were sent by a man named Esteban Reyes, head of the Reyes Cartel, which controlled most of the Northeast drug corridor and had been expanding aggressively into territory that didn't belong to them. I didn't know any of that yet. What I knew was this: my wife was gone. There was a cold cup of coffee on my kitchen floor, and I was standing in my driveway in my socks, screaming her name into a street that didn't answer. They grabbed her arm, hard. I expected her to fight, to scream, to panic. She didn't. She just looked down at the hand on her wrist. Then she looked up at the man who put it there. That look, I will never forget that look. Not fear, not anger, something colder than both. Something ancient. The man holding her, just for one fraction of a second, hesitated, like some animal instinct in him was screaming, "You don't want to do this. You don't know what you're touching." But then the moment passed, and they dragged her outside. The black SUV disappeared around the corner, and she was gone. Just like that. That's when my life broke. But I didn't know yet that theirs was about to. My brother-in-law, Michael, is a cop in Queens. He showed up 30 minutes after I called, looked at my kitchen, looked at the broken door, looked at me. Did they hurt you? No. Did they say anything? Nothing. They just took her. He pulled out his phone, started making calls, turned away from me, quiet, deliberate, like I wasn't supposed to hear. "Michael," I grabbed his arm. "Do you know something?" He looked at me for a long moment, his face doing something complicated. "Let me make some calls," he said. "Don't talk to anyone, not the press, not the neighbors, nobody." "Why?" "Marco," his voice dropped to almost nothing. "Trust me." I sat at my kitchen table for 4 hours. Detectives walked through my house with flashlights. Nobody told me anything. Nobody looked me in the eye. Around 3 in the morning, one of the detectives crouched in front of me, young, nervous. "Mr. Vitali, has your wife ever mentioned anyone named Esteban Reyes? Any connection to a cartel operation?" "What? No, she's a professor." He nodded slowly, wrote something down. "Has she ever talked about her family in Italy? Her uncle? Any other family connections?"
I thought about the late-night call. I thought about the sedan. "Why?" I asked. He stood up. "We're going to do everything we can, Mr. Vitali." That is what police say when they don't know what they're doing. The ransom call came the next morning, 9:47. Calm voice, controlled, dangerous. "Mr. Vitali, your wife is safe. Follow our instructions exactly." "I want to speak to her," I said. A pause, and then he said something that stopped my blood cold. "She is indisposed at the moment. Not scared, not crying,
indisposed, like she had somewhere more important to be. "We require $5 million, 72 hours. He hung up. Michael was recording. His face was doing that complicated thing again. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face changed completely. He turned the screen toward me. A photo. Sophia. Metal chair. Concrete room. And she was not crying. She was not bound. She was not afraid. She was looking directly at the camera with that same impossible calm, like she was the one conducting the interrogation. But that's not what stopped my heart. It was something else, something small. In the corner of the photo, one of the guards. He was standing with his back against the wall, arms crossed, and he wasn't watching the door. He wasn't watching for threats. He was watching her. The way you watch something when you're not sure what it's going to do next. That's when I realized the cartel hadn't taken a hostage. They had locked themselves in a room with something they didn't understand. I went through her things that night. I'm not proud of it, but I needed answers. Her desk was ordinary. Student papers, art books, normal. Her filing cabinet was locked. I'd never thought about that before. In 4 years, that locked cabinet was just furniture. I broke it open with a screwdriver. Tax documents, professional contracts, old correspondence in Italian. And then, a phone. Not her regular phone, a second phone. Matte black, heavy. The kind you see in the hands of people whose jobs don't have titles you'd recognize. Password protected, fingerprint sensor. I couldn't get in. I sat on the floor of her office and stared at it. And then I found the envelope, tucked behind the documents, almost hidden. My name on the front, her handwriting. Marco, open only if I am gone. I turned it over in my hands. Once, twice. Open only if I am gone. She had written this. She had prepared for this. She had known this day could come. And she had gone on, making gravy, sending birthday cards, kissing me goodnight, carrying all of it for years, while I slept soundly right beside her. Before I could open it, Michael called. Something happened. What? Did they find her? Marco, 2 of the men who took Sophia. What about them? Pause. We found them. Where? Longest pause yet. Gowanus Canal. The room went completely silent. Both of them, he said. 6 hours. Professional. No evidence. No witnesses. Clean. I looked at the second phone in my hand. Michael, I said slowly, what is happening? I don't know, he said. And for the first time since this started, I believed that he was telling me the absolute truth.
But Marco, whatever you found in that house, call me first. Because there are people involved in this that you don't want to get wrong. I hung up, sat in her office, looked at the envelope, and thought about who sends 4 men to take a professor and ends up with 2 of them in a canal. I drove to Little Italy the next afternoon, found the restaurant, sat at the bar, described the man I'd seen years ago. The owner wiped the counter once, twice. Lots of men come in here, he said. I put Sophia's photo on the bar, and something happened to his face. Just for a fraction of a second, the expression of a man who has just been shown a photo of someone you don't discuss in public. A quiet recalibration. I don't think I can help you, he said, carefully. Please, she's missing. I just need to understand. Sad, he held up one hand. Voice not unkind, but firm as stone. You should go home, stay home, and trust that the people who need to know about this already know. I walked back to my car. The people who need to know already know. 2 cartel men in the canal, a second phone in a locked cabinet, a restaurant owner who looked at my wife's photo like she was untouchable. I opened the envelope. Marco, if you're reading this, something happened that I always feared and always prepared for. I need to ask you for patience, for love, and for the capacity to hold a version of me that is more complicated than the one you know. I was born Sofia Marchetti, but I was raised inside something larger than that name. My family is not simply a family in the way you understand it. We are something older, something that operates by different rules. I left that world at 22. I built a new life, a real one. You are the most real thing I have ever chosen, but I have never been fully able to leave. You cannot leave what you are born into. You can only step back from it. If they have taken me, know this. I am not as helpless as they will believe, and the people who love me are not as far away as they might seem. Wait for me. Trust what comes next. All my love, always, Sophia.
I read it 4 times, and then I read the last line again. The people who love me are not as far away as they might seem. She wasn't writing to comfort me. She was writing to warn me. She already knew people would come. She had already set it in motion before they even took her. That's when the second thought hit me, harder than anything before it. What if she didn't fight when they grabbed her because she wanted them to take her? I pushed that thought down. I wasn't ready for it. Not yet. 6 a.m. the next morning, my doorbell rang. 2 men on my steps. Dark suits, no ties, shoes that cost more than my first car. Built like architecture, solid, deliberate, constructed for one purpose. The older one, silver-haired, weathered, past 50, looked at me the way you look at someone you've already assessed from a distance. "Mr. Vitale?" he said, not a question. "My name is Aldo. This is Dante. We work for the family." He said the family, the way you'd say the name of a sovereign nation. "May we come in?" They sat at my kitchen table. Aldo looked around once, taking inventory. Then he looked at me. "You've read the letter?" "Yes." "Good. Less to explain." He leaned forward. "Your wife was taken by men working for Esteban Reyes. Reyes made a significant error in judgment." "What kind of error?" Dante spoke. His English was perfectly American. He didn't know who she was. The room went still. "And who is she?" I asked. The 2 men exchanged a look, something between reverence and caution. "Sofia Marchetti is the only daughter of the late Carmine Marchetti." The name meant nothing to me. He read my face. Carmine Marchetti led the Marchetti organization for 31 years, from Naples to New York. Before he died 5 years ago, he was arguably the most powerful man on the eastern seaboard in certain circles. He paused. "Sophia is his only heir." "She's a professor," I said. "She is also an heir," Aldo said, not unkindly. "She removed herself from operations when she left Italy. Her father agreed. She could live her life. But the name never goes away." "What exactly is she in the organization?" The pause was slight, but it was there. "She holds the title," Dante said. "The actual title, since Carmine died." "What title?" Aldo looked at me directly. "The simplest way to say it, she is the head of the Marchetti family, in every meaningful sense." The kitchen was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. "She's a professor," I said again. The words came out like a reflex, like my brain was still trying to protect me from the full weight of it. Yes, said Aldo. She is also that. The second ransom call came that evening. Same man, same accent. But something had shattered behind the professional surface. The control was fracturing. The previous terms have changed, he said. Changed how? We require, he stopped, started again. We need assurances, not money. Assurances from your wife. You need assurances from your hostage. A long silence.
The situation, he said, has developed in an unexpected direction. And then, behind him on the call, I heard her voice, faint, far away, but unmistakable. Not screaming, not calling for help, talking, calmly, in Italian. And even through the distortion and distance, I could hear it. The tone, the authority, the complete, total, absolute absence of fear. The line went dead. I sat with the phone in my hand, and I knew, whatever was happening in that room, she was the one running it. But here's what I didn't know then, what Aldo told me later, what made my blood run cold all over again. In the first 12 hours of Sophia's captivity, one of Reyes's men received a phone call from his own boss, a boss he answered to, a boss above Reyes. And that boss told him to refer to the woman in the concrete room as ma'am. The man stared at his phone, asked for clarification, got none. He walked back into the room, looked at Sophia sitting calmly in that metal chair, and something shifted in him, some deep, involuntary recalibration. Because whoever this woman was, she was already being called ma'am by people who had never met her, people who only knew her name.
That's the moment the fear started spreading through Reyes's operation. Not from violence, not from threats, from a name. Just a name, and what it meant to the people who recognized it. Meanwhile, inside that facility, Sophia had been doing something no hostage had ever done in Reyes's experience. She had been making requests, not demands, requests, politely, with the specific quality of someone who is accustomed to being obeyed and is offering the courtesy of framing orders as something gentler. She asked for a specific wine. It arrived. She asked that the man who grabbed her arm be removed from her presence. He was. She asked to make 2 phone calls. She was told no. She made them anyway. And when one of those calls went to a number that one of Reyes's senior men recognized, that man walked into Reyes's office, white-faced, completely still, and told his boss exactly who they were holding. Reyes did not react well. One of his younger men, aggressive, still not understanding, raised a gun at her. She didn't move. She didn't flinch. She just looked at him, patient, still, like she was waiting for him to understand something inevitable. Slowly, he lowered it. Nobody told him to. He just understood. Dante told me later, some people don't need weapons to control a room. They just need to know exactly what they are. And Sophia has always known exactly what she is. The night before the operation, Aldo came back to my house. Alone this time. He sat across from me.
And he said something that rewrote the last 4 days. Rewrote the last 4 years. There's something you should know, he said, before she comes home. I looked at him. What? Sophia had intelligence about Reyes 3 weeks before the taking. I stared. She knew he was planning something. She didn't know when, she didn't know exactly how. He paused. But she knew enough that she could have moved differently, left the city, changed her routine. Why didn't she? Aldo was quiet for a moment. Because she needed him to act, he said. Reyes had been building in Marchetti territory for 8 months, carefully, staying just below the threshold that would justify a response. He was smart enough to avoid the line. I already knew what was coming, but I needed him to say it. She let him take her, I said. Aldo didn't confirm it. He didn't deny it. He just looked at me with the expression of a man who has enormous respect for a person he also finds occasionally terrifying. She didn't engineer it, he said carefully, but she didn't prevent it either. She saw an opportunity to give Reyes exactly enough rope and let him hang himself with it. Silence.
The response, Aldo said, required justification within certain codes. You cannot move on a rival organization without cause, not in this world, not without consequences from others who are watching. So she became the cause. She became the cause, he confirmed. I sat with that, turned it over. The letter in the locked cabinet, the second phone. The people who love me are not as far away as they might seem. She hadn't been writing to comfort me. She had been writing to me from inside a plan she'd already run the numbers on, a plan where she was both the architect and the bait. Was she ever actually in danger? I asked. Yes, Aldo said. Simply. Real danger. She accepted that risk. She calculated it was manageable. She has... He paused again, choosing words carefully. She has made these calculations before. She is very rarely wrong. But she could have been. Yes. I nodded. And she didn't tell me. No. I looked at the table, thought about my wife, sitting in a concrete room, calm, wine in hand, completely in control of a situation that looked to everyone outside like a kidnapping. And underneath the anger, underneath the fear, underneath all of it, something else, something I didn't entirely expect. Awe. The convoy left the facility at 11:45. 3 vehicles, dark road, no witnesses. Reyes thought he was moving her to a secondary location. He thought he still had options. He was wrong. 6 miles out. Headlights. Blocking the road. The convoy stopped. Engines cut.
Silence so complete you could hear the wind. Doors opened. And that's when they saw them. Not rushing. Not shouting. Just waiting. Immovable. Like they'd been standing on that road for hours. Like this moment had been decided long before the convoy left the facility. Because it had. The Marchetti men stood in the road like something carved from the dark itself. And the cartel soldiers. These men who had walked into my house with guns and empty faces and total confidence, looked at what was in front of them and understood, finally, completely, and permanently, what they had done. One of them tried to run. He didn't get far, and nobody chased him. That's what made it worse. He just stopped on his own because the understanding hit him mid-stride that there was nowhere to go, that the road behind him and the road in front of him led to the same place, that when you reach into the wrong world reaches back. When Sophia stepped out of the vehicle, she looked at the men who had come for her, her people.
The ones who had been moving since the first hour. She looked at the scene in front of her, the way you look at a problem that has been solved correctly. Then she looked at Reyes, who had come with the convoy, who was now standing on a dark road in Sullivan County, understanding for the first time in his life what it meant to have chosen the wrong target. He said, "We didn't know." She looked at him. That look, the one I had seen in my kitchen, the one that doesn't ask permission, doesn't offer apology, doesn't perform anything, just is. She said, "You didn't take me. You exposed yourself." She got in the car. The door closed. Aldo nodded once to the men in the road, and Esteban Reyes stood in the dark, holding a debt that would be collected on someone else's timeline. Not that night. Not loudly. Not with anything he could prepare for. That was the point.
2:17 in the morning. I was sitting on the stairs. I heard a car. I heard the door. And then she was standing in my hallway. Same clothes she was taken in. White button down. Dark trousers. A small cut above her left eyebrow. Cleanly taped. Standing straight. Not limping. Her eyes found mine the second she walked in. And for a long moment, neither of us moved. I came down the stairs. I held her. And something in her, some last armored, controlled, carefully held tension, released against my chest, like a breath she had been holding for 4 days. I felt it happen. All of it. Coming down. Just for a moment. Just for us. When we separated, I looked at her face. She looked at mine. And between us, there was something new. Not distance, but the awareness of distance. The understanding that she had geography I had never visited. Terrain she had mapped alone. I made tea. We sat across from each other at the table where she'd been standing when they came through the door. I know about the plan, I said. She went still. Aldo told me. She looked at the table, then at me. I was going to tell you. Were you? A pause. Yes, she said. After. Because you knew I'd have tried to stop you. Yes. And you couldn't let me do that. No.
I looked at my wife, the woman who had walked into a trap that she had built and walked back out of it, exactly as planned. Were you afraid? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. Yes, she said. Just that. Not of them, she said. Of this conversation. She talked until dawn. She told me everything. Being born into it. Her father. The education that other people's children never received. The decision at 22 to leave. The conditions her father set. The title she carried like a weight she had agreed to hold, as long as nothing required her to use it. For 12 years, she said, nothing arose. And then Reyes. And then Reyes. Did he survive the night? I asked. She looked at me, the answer in her eyes before she spoke. He survived, she said. Survival isn't protection. He will spend the rest of his career dismantling what he built, one connection at a time, because every partner he has will quietly step away. Every door will close. Every deal will fall through for reasons he can't trace and can't fight. She paused. That is worse than what you're imagining. I believed her. Why didn't you tell me, I asked, about all of it, before any of this? She curled her hands around her mug.
And when she looked up, the armor was completely down. The professor, the head of the Marchetti family, the woman who had used herself as bait to end a threat. All of it. Just her. Because, she said, I have been exactly what people needed me to be for my entire life. I was born into a role. I was raised for a purpose. Every person in my world saw me as something. A symbol, a title, an heir. a weapon. She looked at me. You saw me. The room was very quiet. You saw me before you knew what I was. You loved me before the name meant anything to you. And I was... She stopped. I was afraid that if you knew, you would only ever see the rest of it. That I would become the mafia boss who also makes gravy. Instead of the woman I married, I said. Yes. I reached across the table. She looked at my hand, then took it. I have conditions, I said. Something moved in her face. A small, careful hope. I need to know when there's danger. Not everything. I understand that's not realistic. But when it touches our life, when I need to know, I need to know. Yes.
And if you ever use yourself as bait again, you tell me first. She almost smiled. I will try. That's not... It's the most honest answer I can give you, she said. I will try. I cannot promise what situations will require, but I will try. I looked at her, thought about that, decided it was enough. And I need you to know, I said, that what I feel right now is not fear. What is it? I took a moment because I wanted to get it right. I feel like I married someone, I said, and found out she's also a country. Large, complicated, with her own history and laws and things that happened before I arrived. And I'm still your husband, but I'm also now aware of the borders. She looked at me for a long moment, and then that laugh. Startled, genuine, briefly, completely unguarded, the most real sound in the world. That is, she said, the most accurate thing anyone has ever said about me. I know, I said. I've had 4 days to think about it.
It has been 6 months. Esteban Reyes is no longer operational. No headline, no shootout, no body on the evening news. The Reyes cartel's northeastern expansion simply stopped. Contracts evaporated. Partners stepped back. Funding dried up from sources no one could trace. Within 90 days of taking my wife, Reyes found himself in the specific kind of ruin that has no single origin, no enemy to confront, no appeal to make. The kind of ending that arrives quietly, like weather, and leaves nothing standing. The Marchetti organization did not do this loudly. They never do anything loudly. They did it the way Sofia does everything, with complete control, total patience, the absolute confidence of people who know they have already won, and are simply allowing events to arrive at the conclusion. Sofia is still a professor. She still makes Sunday gravy. She still cries at nature documentaries. She still sends every birthday card. She still argues passionately about Caravaggio to students who have no idea that their professor holds more real power in the northeastern United States than most elected officials. And now, sometimes, when I watch her, I see it. The thing that was always there.
The way she enters a room and something shifts. The way particular people look at her, like they're recalibrating. The way she sometimes pauses mid-conversation. Some calculation running behind her eyes, before she comes back. I see her competence, her authority. The specific quality of someone who has been carrying enormous weight for so long that it no longer looks like weight. It just looks like who they are. She asked me once, about 3 months after everything, whether I regretted it, whether knowing what I knew changed the thing we had. I gave her the true answer. I married someone I thought I understood completely, I said. And it turned out she was deeper than I knew. Most people, you go deeper and you find disappointment. Smaller things than the surface suggested. With you, I found the opposite.
The opposite? She said. More, I said. There was more than I knew. Difficult more. Complicated more. Sometimes terrifying more. But still, more. She was quiet for a long moment. I don't think I deserve that, she said. You probably don't, I said. But you have it anyway. She kissed me. And for a moment she was just my wife. Just Sophia. The woman from the gallery. The one who made old paintings feel urgent. Who stood in front of a canvas about power and betrayal and consequence. And made me feel like I needed to know her. Maybe I was always going to end up here. Standing at the edge of something vast. Calling it home. She is still the woman I married. She just turned out to be considerably more of her. And out of everything she could control in this world. Every organization. Every outcome. Every carefully calculated move. I was the only thing she chose. Not managed. Not handled. Not positioned. Chosen. That's not nothing. That's everything.
Please like and subscribe.